Here's a case study on why it's easier not to start a life-sustaining medical intervention than it is to remove that intervention once it has already begun. When I'm referring to a life-sustaining intervention, I am talking about intubation and life support, or TPN, or tube feeding. So in this particular situation, I'm going to call this person Jane. Jane was 25 years old and she was in an accident, and her parents had to make a decision to put her on life support to save her life. And of course, they did. Jane was paralyzed and she had a trach in place and she was vent dependent on life support. And at a certain point, the hospital said, she's alive, she's living, although many of us would agree that that isn't really living. She needs to go somewhere else. And so they put her in a nursing home. And Jane lived in that nursing home for 2 years. Now, Jane could communicate with her eyes. She could blink using a communication board. And she began to express that her wish was to have the life support withdrawn. It's called compassionate extubation when we do that. And so that her life would end. Because again, really, she didn't have a life. Jane's parents did not agree with this choice, but they did say that they would honor her wishes. So she was referred to hospice so that she could be extubated. Now, here is where the problem comes in. Jane is alive. She's been living for 2 years. And when this extubation takes place, she will absolutely 100% die. And so the people who are involved in doing that procedure will, in essence, be ending her life. This becomes a moral and ethical dilemma for many of the people who are involved. If immediately after that accident, life support would not have been initiated, Jane would have died from the accident. But now that she's been on life support and living for 2 years and is so far removed from the event that caused her to be on the life support in the first place, we know that if we remove that life support, that is what is going to cause her death. And that feels so much more personal. It's easier to say no to start with or to stop it soon after it's been initiated than to let it go on and on and on to where eventually you are going to feel like you're the cause of that person's death.